Hi, Jim. Thanks so much for doing what you do. I think I've probably been misled by a well-known financial and insurance company, often derided by your fellow readers and listeners. My wife and I are both physicians. She's a part-time hospitalist, and I'm an early career attending surgeon. We've both been maxing out our backdoor Roth IRAs and 403Bs for several years, and I'm in the process of switching our Roth IRAs from different so-called advisors. I come to find out my wife's account is composed of C-share mutual funds, while mine is A-shares. An advisor wants me to convert all of my wife's C-shares to A-shares. I read your blog posts on no-load mutual funds, and I'm planning to run away from this advice and transfer these accounts to a different company. My wife's account has about 35K and mine has about 58K in our backdoor Roth IRAs. Is there any benefit in converting these to no-load mutual funds, or are no-load mutual funds just something we should look to invest in the future? Thanks so much for your help, and hope you had a Merry Christmas.
It's a great question, Dr. B. It brings back a lot of bad memories. This is kind of what got me started. This was the camel that broke, the camel that broke the straw's back, the straw that broke the camel's back. I realized I had C-share mutual funds. I realized that my advisor that I was paying a fee to was fee-based, not fee-only. Not only had I paid them a fee to give me advice, but I was paying them commissions to put me into mutual funds. And I had Class C or C shares mutual funds. Now, for those who aren't familiar with these are terms from the commissioned sales industry, generally of mutual funds. A shares are front-loaded funds, meaning you pay the load up front. Typical load might be 5.75%. So if you give them $1,000 to invest, they take $5,750 and put it in their pocket and put the rest into the mutual fund. There are B shares. These are backloaded shares, meaning when you take the money out, you pay the commission. Can generally be more money than A shares because the money's grown over time. Might be the same percentage, but it's the same percentage of more money. The other thing that they do sometimes is what are called C shares. And this is where an additional load is added on top of the expense ratio of the fund to pay the sales agent for selling it to you. So instead of an expense ratio of perhaps 0.4%, you're paying an expense ratio of 0.8%. And that 0.4% is going to the person that sold that to you for as long as you own that investment. These are all loads or commissions that are charged on mutual funds. But what the people who sell these mutual funds don't tell you is that it is possible not to pay an A share, B share, or a C share commission. It's possible to pay no commission at all, and that's called a no-load mutual fund. All of the Vanguard mutual funds are no-load mutual funds. All the ones you should use at Fidelity or Schwab or anywhere else are no-load mutual funds. You don't have to pay the load at all. You don't have to pay it up front. You don't have to pay it in the back. You don't have to pay it as you go along. It's no load. The less you pay in expenses, the more money stays in your pocket and that you can use for retirement, that you can use for whatever you want to use the money for. So should you get out of loaded mutual funds? Probably. Certainly, if it's a C share fund, you should get out of it, right? Because you're paying ongoing expenses on that every year. And the sooner you get out of it and get into a mutual fund with an expense ratio of 0.03% instead of 0.8%, the more of your money is going to be working for you and the less drag there's going to be on your returns from those fees. Now, with an A share, it's technically water under the bridge. You've already paid that commission. The downside, most of the time when you buy a mutual fund with an A share, it's not a very good mutual fund because the best mutual funds tend to be no-load mutual funds. And so what do these funds have to do to get people to sell them? Well, they have to pay bigger commissions to the sales agents. And so you end up with not as good of a fund. But if you really like the fund and the A share, the A commission, the front load is already paid, then you can stay in it. That's okay. But in your situation, she's got 30 grand, you got 50 grand. You're in the beginning like I was when I figured this all out. Just change over to do the right thing. There's no tax consequences to selling mutual funds and buying what you actually want in your IRA, right? This isn't a taxable account. It's just IRAs, 401ks, et cetera. And so it's easy to make that conversion over. So what I would do is I would get your written investing plan in place. If you don't have that and you don't feel competent to write it yourself right now, I would consider taking our online course. We have Fire Your Financial Advisor, which is the option without CME, and we have the option with CME that we call Financial Wellness and Burnout Prevention for Medical Professionals. That's Fire Your Financial Advisor, plus about 8 hours of CME qualifying wellness material. So you can buy that with your CME fund, or you can, write it off as a business expense if you're self-employed, and write up your written financial plan. If that's too overwhelming, go hire a financial planner. You can find our list of recommended planners under the recommended tab at White Coat Investor. Just scroll down to financial advisors there and get someone to help you put a written financial plan together. Now, once you have the plan together, then you make the changes in your IRAs with your investments, et cetera, in accordance with that plan. But there's no huge rush, right? We're only talking about $90,000 together that you've got in there. So what if you're paying an extra, 1% for 3 more months? It's not terrible. It's not that much money. You can take your time, get things really set, and move forward with the plan you're confident in. Sorry this happened to you. This happened to me, right? I had a whole life insurance. It was policy that was totally inappropriate for me. I had, C-share mutual funds and our Roth IRAs. I've made these mistakes, but that doesn't mean they're not mistakes. And you can get them fixed. Sounds like you're getting them fixed early in your career, and you're going to be off to the races. So thanks for what you do, and congratulations on your success so far and figuring this out early in your career. A lot of people never do. If you want your questions answered by the White Coat Investor, record your question at whitecoatinvestor.com/YQA or click the link in the description.
My dad, your host, Dr. Dolly, is a practicing emergency physician, blogger, author, and podcaster. He is not a licensed accountant, attorney, or financial advisor, so this podcast is for your entertainment and information only and should not be considered official, personalized financial advice.